They want my money. Oops. This isn't my story, but is the story of a departed uncle. R.I.P. Hodge. Backstory. In World War II, my uncle Hodge was an engineer with the RAF. He rapidly climbed the ranks and ended up being the head engineer at a local base. After the war, he met his wife of 45 years, Eve. It was the typical post-war relationship. Without children though due to complications. He quickly found a job at our village coal mine, known locally as the Pit. He went from engineer to foreman very quickly. The man had a knack for leadership. That's for sure. He and Eve, some of his RAF buddies and his sister, my grandmother, often went to Spain for holidays. At least once per year before they all retired. After that, whenever they felt like it. The family. The unfortunate truth is that family isn't always nice. My grandmother was his only surviving direct family. Eve, on the other hand, had a large family. Very large. The trouble with large families is that often there's a few bad eggs. In this case, it was quicker to count the good ones. As Hodge would put it, the trouble with eggs is, you can only tell the good ones by spinning them quick. Or dunking them in water. I don't fancy going to prison. More often than not, Eve's family would drop by and ask to borrow money. Not from Eve. She had none. Hodge had always been industrious. Saving as much as he could and only really spending what he had to. Other than the holidays, of course. The incident. When I hit 18 legal drinking age in the UK, he took me for my first beer. As my dad worked nights and had to sleep, he didn't drink, which was uncommon for him, as he was a regular at the working men's club we were in. Me, Hodge. How come you're not drinking? I can't in good conscience drink your money without you getting a sniff. Hodge. Well, I suppose one can't hurt. Don't tell Nip his name for my grandmother. Sheila. But I've just been diagnosed with diabetes type 2. Don't want to take any chances. Me, I'll keep your secret. But you need to tell her. Just on the off chance. Hodge. I'll tell her in good time, kiddo. Now get it down you before it goes flat. Neither of us took much notice to the people around us. So we didn't notice Eve's nephew in the corner. 5 years pass. I've seen him a few times less than I'd like because of work and him going overseas. The build-up. I visited my grandparents one day to find my grandmother sobbing. With Hodge sat on the sofa, Hodge put the kettle on. Kid, I need to tell you something. I make a coffee for Gran and Granddad. Hot chocolate for me and green tea for Hodge. Hodge, now listen up. I've not got long on this wretched planet. But you're not to cry over me. I've been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. And couldn't be fucking happier to be leaving. To Gran, sorry Nip. I know you don't want to hear this, but it has to be said. You and yours will be looked after, of course. But you're not to tell Eve and her family. To everyone, I've made up a new will. I want everyone to go to the reading. I've prepared a little gift for the family. Shortly after this chat, we found out he passed away. We kept it from my grandmother that he'd taken his own life. It'd destroy her. Let it be said that Hodge was always a man independent of others. He made his choice so Gran wouldn't suffer seeing him deteriorate over time. The revenge. We went to the reading as a family like he asked. It's the only thing he ever asked of us. We'd seen people we never met. Never even heard of, so of course. There were some sullen scowls across the table. Lawyer, now that we're all here, please watch this video. Hodge has a message for you all. Hodge from beyond. Now then. I imagine this will be a shock to most of you. But I had cancer. If you're watching this, I want you to know that some of you made my last few years pleasant. Others, well, we'll get to you. To my side of the family, not one of you came to me asking if I was alright or wanted anything doing. Instead, you asked if I wanted a hand with anything. For this, I thank you. I've never had anyone do anything for me unless they were my underlings in the RAF. And I didn't aim to start when I found out I was on my way out. You knew me better than most of my close family. I'll tell you if something's wrong. Good on you. Now then, let's get to the good bit. To Eve's family, you lot. Where do I begin? When I took our Nip's grandson out for his first pint. Apparently the walls have ears and one of you overheard me tell him I had diabetes. Shame you had to say, it's a shame it wasn't cancer. Guess you got your wish. Eh? The rest of you. Whenever you visited me you asked more often than not if you could borrow money. It's fine. I didn't mind lending it to you. But I did expect to get it back. So, here's how this is going to work. I've split my money and put it in trust with my oldest friend, the lawyer. Nobody is getting a thing till Eve pops her clogs. So don't bother asking. Eve can stay in the house I worked my ass off for until she either dies or has to go into care for any reason. The house is not to be sold until after she dies. Lazy as she is, she's still my wife. Once she dies, the house is to be sold at a reasonable price to the next owners. And the money from that is to be added to the total for my finances. And split with the family. Eve's is her own and she can do with it what she wants. Other than add it to my total, lawyer has been left instructions on this. Now, here's how it'll be split. If you've borrowed money from me and paid it back, you'll get a fair share based on your age at the time of my death. If you haven't repaid the money you borrowed, you'll still get a cut, minus what you owe me. For some of you, I hope you know I'm laughing at your squirming from beyond the grave. Deserves you right. Nip, my only living family, you'll get the lion's share of whatever is there. To be done with what you will. If you're not wanting to keep it, lawyer has been paid for any services you may require. Trust him. He's a good lad and saved my ass on more than one occasion in the war. Nip's sons will get a decent chunk to help with whatever you need. And your children will be provided for as well. 2. My mom. Not once have I heard anything bad about you. You're getting a cut too. Like it or lump it. You've been a great help the last couple of weeks. I called you unfairly at 3 a.m. to help me out of the bath after finally giving up getting myself out. Sorry you had to see that. You didn't have to help the next day with the decorating either. If you weren't already on your career path, you'd make a fine tradesman. You will receive a cut to be determined by the near future's events. Use it how you will. To the rest of you, I'm utterly fucking disgusted to have known you. I mentioned earlier that Eve can live in the house till she dies or is put into residential care. If either of these happens, nobody is to live in the house. I don't want anyone I don't trust in there. Now quit your crying and go about your lives. Hodge. As you can imagine, people kicked up a stink about this. We nodded to the lawyer and left. Shortly after the funeral, Eve went into a retirement home with her own money. Hodges was locked up as per his request. She had more than enough to keep her afloat for many more years. A couple of months down the line, we all got called back to the lawyer's office. A little bemused. Again, we're directed to watch a video. Hodge, I'm not surprised that this video has been played. Some of you just don't follow orders. If you're watching this, it means that someone I don't trust was found to be living in my house. I don't give a frick who it is. Lawyer has instructions of what to do next. But for the sake of his voice and sanity, whoever was found in the house against my wishes is now stricken from the will entirely. If the others feel they want to share their money with you, that's their loss. You'll not get a penny from me. As it turns out, my cousin who bullied me in school and her family is in her on and off boyfriend. 2 kids and a dog had moved into the house after convincing Eve to move out because they needed the house. What they hadn't counted on is nosy neighbors. Hodge asked them to watch the house, and if they saw anyone new in there, or any signs of moving, to report to the lawyer for updates. In return, they'd get a cut of the money he had. They're good people. The lesson? Don't screw with a war vet. Served from beyond the grave. Brilliant. Revenge is best served cold. I like your Uncle Hodge. No nonsense and straight down the line. Not many of them around anymore. Let's all hope he is resting in peace. What a story. You know, I think most of the time being an estate lawyer isn't too uplifting or exciting or fun. But this lawyer must have had a blast. Especially since we was doing it for an old war buddy probably made it that much sweeter. Uncle Hodge in heaven now. I don't understand the reference but damn if that isn't the perfect image. Wait, so how much did you get? Do you know yet? Your uncle sounds like a cool dude. Hope he gets a laugh out of this in heaven. The house is still up for sale. Nothing gets split till the sale is complete. If I'm being honest, I don't really care how much it is. It'll be put to a good use. Whatever it is, I'm just glad he got his revenge. This is the closest to a real-life boot to the head I've ever seen, and it's glorious. And you, darling, the love of my life, the moon to my sun, I leave to you my most precious boot to the head. In ProRevenge I have seen asshole bosses, thieves and lots of things, but never a revenge from the grave. Not revenge per se, but my friend Sean had it in his will to have a bagpiper suddenly switch from "take me out to the ball game" to "never gonna give you up" at his own wake. I was rickrolled from beyond the grave. Frick you, Sean. You glorious bastard. Less than 3. Man, I love your uncle. Side note. Why not you buy the house? Or is it too expensive? Just thought that would be a lovely slap in the face, haha. Good luck op and rip Hodge. Hodge straight said it wasn't to go to family, but get sold and split. He likely saw it as the fairest way to dissolve it as an asset so nobody could try to snag his hard work. If he gave someone the house, they'd likely try to argue it as a piece of the assets in trust. He fucking straight booby-trapped his will. Fucking legend. At least the tripwire had a big glowing sign on it. This will blow up. Do not go here. When the lawyer played the second video, did he already know beforehand who was living in Hodge's house, or did he have to grill Eve's side of the family? What if they still owed him money after the cut was taken into account? Can the estate of a dead man collect debts? The estate can still collect income. Not sure on how debts would be handled. Final paychecks, life insurance payouts, sale of house would all go into estate, with then debts settled before any splitting of fines would come up. Any contesting of will would reduce available funds as lawyers are paid. Nice story, but doesn't literally add up. The war finished 74 years ago. He would have been 22 by that stage at the least, but probably older as he was an engineer when he began. That makes him 96 if alive today at the youngest. I see in another post. You finished school 7 years ago. So he was 89 when he took you to the pub. 5 years go by in your story, so that makes him 94 before he died. That would make his mum the oldest woman in Britain. Now that is Hilda Krulo, and she got married in 1939 and had children after that, so Hodge can't be her kid. This is a story from a few years back. I was reminded of it over the Christmas holidays when I went home to see family. You're spot on with him being 22 when he was in the RAF. His mum died when he was young. I'm not 100% on the age. Not sure how you came to the conclusion his mum is Hilda Krulo, though possible derp moment. I've been at work today. This sounds like a boomer email forward. It's too well written to be a forward. I think you should write it into a novel. It's good materials. Fiction, of course. Just like the posting. Also, don't screw with a physician. A family friend of mine left her money to her nieces and nephews. My sister and I. Her 3 godchildren and 1 childless sister. One of her other sisters was married to a CFO and another sister was married to an asshole. When she died, the asshole was counting on getting a share of her estate. When he heard it was going to be split up among the kids plus my sister, me, and the 3 godchildren, he was pissed. I overheard him trying to drum up support with the childless sister's husband to contest the will and get the 5 non-related kids disinherited and give it to him and his wife. Well, family friend didn't trust him and put a clause in the will. I've never seen a man go that white that fast. The clause was, if anyone, or their appointed representative, contests this will, they will find themselves disinherited and their share will be redistributed. If he had disputed the will, he would have cost his 3 kids their inheritance, which was a significant chunk of money. Poison pill done well in the will.